Greetings. Thank you guys for tuning in for another video. Trust that you're glad to see me, so I'm glad to see you. For some reason, I felt an intense urge or conviction to make this video, and I'm not sure exactly why, but I do think I can grasp or understand why it's important. I want to begin by saying that it's come to my attention that we live, it seems like, in a dystopian world. We live in a world in which the new normal seems to be one in which people do things, believe things, say things that are toxic. And when I say toxic, I mean so excessive, so extreme, so polarized that they sort of contribute to a black and white conception of the world. And moreover, I've come to understand that all the things that we do and say and all that we embody boils down to what we value. And it really stuns me that we don't talk more about values and beliefs, the primacy of them, that they in many ways determine or necessitate our actions. And so what I've come to conclude from this is that since we live in a world, in a society, in a culture that stresses so much importance on individuality, we have what seems to be now toxic individuality. And I understand that there are many points of contention amongst ourselves, many things that we disagree on, and we'll never be able to oversimplify the complexities or the nuances and the dilemmas that we face together. But one thing that I think we can all agree on, one thing that I myself choose to advocate for, is commonality in the idea that we ought to be compassionate, we ought to be kind and merciful and just, honest, sincere, true. These such things we should embody. And why? Is it because some religion or dogma obliges us to? Is it because someone taught us to? Is it because we are expected to, or because it's simply legal? No. Because upon careful examination of the alternative, of our tendency to hate one another, to discriminate against one another, to reject one another, I'm beginning to find more and more that there's a necessity to be good. And when I say good, I'm not talking about being perfect. I'm not talking about being cookie cutter. I'm not talking about being godlike in an ideal sense. I'm simply saying that we ought to aspire to do the things that we believe in if those things seem to point to virtue, towards virtue. If we forsake the responsibility and the duty to be good, there will be people who exploit the opportunity to do otherwise, because being good and doing good is not always easy. It's not always convenient. It is not always beneficial in many different ways. But light eradicates darkness, and truth sets us free. I know that many people will watch this video and think that it's somewhat cliche, the things that I'm saying. You know, I'm pretty sure that everybody's heard these things before. They've heard people express the notion or the idea to be the change you want to see in the world, but it's a highly underrated truth that when we take a look in the mirror and when we ask ourselves with sincerity, being genuine, being honest, when we ask ourselves, what can I do to be better? What can I do to improve? What can I do to change things in a way that reflects the values that I have, that point towards virtue? When we do that, if everyone did that, we would live in a utopia. And it's also an idea that I expressed in a prior video, but look, I just want to encourage you, when you go out into the world today, when you go to your job, or when you go to the grocery store, or even when you stay at home and you interact with your close friends and family, or wherever you go and whatever you do, don't forsake the opportunity. Don't miss the opportunity to be kind to someone. Don't miss the opportunity to say good things to someone, to say truth to someone. Do not miss the opportunity to express love and compassion. Because again, there's many things we can't agree on. There's many things we'll never agree on. We have different religions, different political affiliations, different philosophical beliefs, a myriad of differences amongst ourselves. But again, I will insist nonetheless that we can agree on this. We can agree on this. It's not good for us to hate each other. It's not good for us to destroy each other. And there is nothing that will destroy us faster than being negligent and ignoring our responsibility and our duty to be good. I suppose I'll leave you with two quotes, one of which was shared with me by a close friend fairly recently, and I'm pretty sure most of you have heard it before. It says, "All that is necessary for evil to prevail is for good men to stand by and do nothing." All right, I think that quote speaks for itself, so I won't bother explaining it or what it means, rather. And then another one is, it actually comes from an anime that I grew up watching as a child. And the protagonist or main character in this anime is somebody who still inspires me to this day. And it's as funny as it may sound for a grown man to sit here and say that he was inspired in a very profound way by a fictional character. I will say that nonetheless. Now, one of the things that he said when he was facing up against one of his greatest enemies, when all of his friends were exhausted and beaten and defeated, when everything around him seemed hopeless, you know what he said? He mustered up the will and the courage to utter these words. He said, "If I don't, who will?" And so I urge and encourage you to think that way. If I don't, who will? If I don't take the opportunity to feed the hungry, who will? If I don't take the opportunity to clothe the homeless, who will? If I don't take the opportunity to speak life and truth into someone else's life, who will? Guys, if we don't do it ourselves, how can we expect anybody else to do it? If we don't take a look in the mirror ourselves, how can we expect others to take a look in the mirror? It's a very hard thing. I'm not here trying to insist that it's an easy thing at all. No, it's probably the hardest thing that we'll ever do in life, but it has its own reward. Being good and doing good and aspiring towards goodness has its own reward. And I promise you, it pays dividends. So, anyways, I won't continue ranting. Thank you again for tuning in for another video. I know this was a bit different, but yeah, I just appreciate you guys, as always, tuning in. If you liked it, like the video. If you disliked it, dislike the video. If you want to leave some comments or feedback, questions, critiques, ideas, whatever, say what you want. And just know that I'll be here. I'll be here to listen in an inviting and welcoming spirit. So until next time, bye-bye.